Cool. Can we get another shout out to Mark though? Yeah, so one of the things that I've always noticed about you, X, is that you really are pushing the social cause more than actually improving technology. And it seems like a lot of that just came from the way you were raised and circumstances you grew up. So what are some things that I guess you're doing now in regards to working at Google that actually push that forward?
Ooh, that's very interesting. So to give a little context of why I'm at Google now, I spent 3 years at Microsoft, and when I first started, I was in their national security group, and I was an engineer consultant person. So I'd go out to the CIA, the FBI, the DIA, and I go build apps for them. And that was cool because I just come out the military. I was in the military for a bunch of years, so it kind of made sense. And I was like, all right, now I gotta go do something. First of all the government's technology is hella old. And this isn't me making this up. They literally wrote a report themselves that was 90% of our technology is hella old and we should upgrade it. And then we got hacked, right? So hella funny. But no, so I got tired of working on old stuff and working on things that I'm out the military. I don't really want to just be around a whole bunch of government stuff. I want to know what this legal cannabis stuff is about. I'm trying to smoke. What's up, right? So I left that world and I went to the civilian world, what I call it, and I went into commercial. And so there, I ended up in a very interesting position. I ended up doing relationship management, but from a technical incubation standpoint. So I would get a whole bunch of really big companies assigned to me, and then I would work with these really big other parts of the company, the big AI people, the people who build our AI products at Microsoft, and try to figure out a way to do a dope ass pilot with one of my customers. In order to do that, I had to know everything about the customer. So I had to know what they were using for their phones, what they were using for their email, why they were using them, even if it wasn't us. And then I had to figure out a way to weasel some AI and blockchain and IoT in there, right? And in doing that, I actually ended up selling a lot of really big, futuristic deals. One that Satya Nadella himself was even talking about. He did a whole hour-long segment. Who's the CEO of Microsoft, was talking about that deal and the impact of it on the industry. And so when I was doing that, I think for me, a lot of the motivation was the potential for these technologies to augment, right? So one of the things that we would do would be all right, how can we make a process faster? But sometimes making a process faster means cutting people's jobs out. And I was like, bro, I don't want to be involved with that. Cutting edge technology is dope, but we could do really good stuff. But as a company like Microsoft, at the end of the day, is a for-profit company, and I loved what I did. I loved everything I learned there. I have no shade against them. It's just they're not going to go do what's best for society. It's best for bottom line. It doesn't mean that those two things can intersect sometimes. That just didn't align with my personal values. And so the more ingrained I got in that work, the more I felt unhappy in myself. And I was tired, I was stressed, I started to be mad and angry, and Whitney knows I'd be in the lunch hall bruh, what am I doing with my life? Over some fresh pressed juice that they serve for free. this kale beet, this kale beet apple ginger juice is the only reason I'm still here. It just, and it wasn't anything wrong with Microsoft, it just wasn't what was making me satisfied as a person. And so I had to find something that was more aligned with what I liked. And what I liked about technologies like blockchain and AI and IoT is that they have the potential to
What is IoT?
IoT is the Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things is if you have it's basically how you could use technology to collect data about the environment. So think of a temperature sensor that's connected to the internet, or think of your Nest, right? Your Nest thermometer thing. That's an IoT device. Your smart home, that's a IoT device. It's something that's in the environment. It can give you information in the environment. It change something about the environment, but it's just connected to the internet. So it's an IoT device. So we would do really dope stuff, dope combination stuff. One of the projects that I know we did with 3M was focused on how do we stop fraud in the supply chain line for pharmaceutical drugs. How do we stop people from stealing stuff? How do we stop people from swapping drugs out? How can we authenticate what was there? And we did this cool IoT project with these custom scanning devices. So they knew if you tried to scan something twice. And then because it was connected to blockchain, which without crypto, I'll go into that another time. Blockchain is basically a new way to store data that keeps everyone on the same page at the same time while guaranteeing that nobody's manipulating the data.
Yeah.
And how it does that is a whole bunch of technical shit that I'm not gonna get into. But that's basically the value of it. So you stick like you put blockchain underneath the like scanning device, right? So like, hey, send this signal to the blockchain, and you have something called a smart contract, which is basically do something with the data on the blockchain. So like, all right, we're sending these values of how many units someone scanned up to this blockchain. And then basically, if they didn't scan all the units in real time because this network's connected, it would kick off a smart contract to bill that vendor for the loss. There's no QA, there's no reconciliation, right? So that's like, yo, I'm hella down for that. I'm totally down to build cool stuff like that. But at the end of the day, there were decisions with certain technologies and certain projects that were like, nah, I can't do this because they're going to fire everybody that does that job. And I can see it and I can sell it, but I don't feel right with it. And so I decided to leave. I was very blessed with the opportunity to come to Google. There was like 18 people that I knew there that were like, you got to come work here. I know you're miserable, come work for us. And I was like, nah, bro, nah. And after a lot of resistance and a lot of just like, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to be at Microsoft forever. I bought too many t-shirts to read in my wardrobe. My like, I simply excel shirt, like with a big Excel logo. It was amazing. And so, honestly, what happened was I was actually, ironically, giving a talk for on blockchain for Microsoft, and there was like a Google dude in the crowd who wasn't even a recruiter. And he was just like, I don't know how or when, but I know you're going to find something really dope at Google. And like, finally, eventually, I kind of came to the conclusion, all right, bro, I got to go. Like, it's time to, I'm getting gray hair. My back hurt even more, right? And so I applied for a whole bunch of positions. I looked at a whole bunch of different things and then ended up in the role that I'm in now, which is a program manager. I decided to take a break from the technical stuff. It's been 10 years of like coding and building and engineering solutions around the world, from Japan to Canada, Afghanistan, like DC. Like, I'm done. I need a break. I just want to type stuff for a while. That's not code. I need to learn how to use Google Docs. No, but seriously, so what I ended up doing was I found a role that I felt like would help me build the skill set that I wanted, but also I'd be able to use my technical background. And it just happened to be on like the most kick-ass team ever. So our team sits in Google AI in the research and machine intelligence division, and we're a team that's focused on how to stop bias in AI at the machine learning level. So we call that like fairness, right? Like, how do you make machines more fair? And that's like a word that's like difficult to use because obviously people can take that the wrong way, right? But that's ultimately what we do. Is like, if you're gonna like build something to like decide if somebody should get a loan or not, like to automate that, how do you make sure it's not gonna skew negatively towards certain groups of people? How do you make sure it's not gonna like automatically deny women, because historically women weren't the names on the titles of houses, so all your historical data is men. And then when you recognize that, how do you fix it? Where do you get the data from? How do you generate it from some new tool you create? Do you go out and get it? Do we create a license thing? Is there that data set? Do we have to like crowdsource it and ask people to contribute it? So our team asks these questions every day because if you paid attention to any news, you've seen that like Google has been hit really hard for struggling with this issue internally, and it's because it is so complex, right? And so our team is a multidisciplinary team. We have like people who do like technical tools. So we have like an actual infrastructure team that like codes things in sprints and like, yeah, here we go, new release, woo, we're shipping. And then we have like researchers who are like actual like PhD postdocs in a variety of fields who look at fairness from an academic perspective. What studies can we do to see things? What new methods of developing AI can we create to make sure that it's fair off the bat? And when those research teams create dope products, dope like things in their research papers, which my job and my team's job is to turn them into products. So like, okay, you developed a new way to look at how biased something is going to be before we build it. How valid is it? How do we like go take that to communities externally and internally and test it? How do we like, if it's good, like let's test it on our own products. Like, how do we check for more bias in our own stuff, right? And then like we open source everything. So open source, for those who aren't familiar, means that we give it away. So the code is there, everybody can see the code. If you see like an error, you want to make it better, you can contribute to it. Like, there's an approval process, but like it just means it's super transparent, and it's also free of charge. So you're able to use these tools to like detect your own stuff. We've released 2 of them so far already. Yeah, it's kind of how I ended up at Google. It was just, I really think I put the intention out there to like align with something that would be satisfactory to me as a person. Like, work is where you spend all your time, so a career is just like what you do all day. And like I wanted to do something that I like loved doing. It wasn't just like technically geeked out, but was like spiritually fulfilled and like excited about every day. And so now like I love it. I love my team. The work we're doing is like extremely difficult. It's extremely important, and it's also just like machine learning is so new. And so it just don't work for everybody. Like when the first car came out, it didn't have like the Model T didn't have like a wheelchair ramp.
Yeah.
It takes time for things to evolve to be accessible, but this is something that like is hella serious because it could automate things in a way that are very difficult to undo. So I'm just blessed to be where I'm at. I'm blessed to be surrounded by the amount of geniuses that I am. Like I go to coffee twice a week with different researchers and learn really cool stuff. So yeah, that's how I ended up at Google. Long story. My TED Talk.
It's great interviewing someone who loves to talk. I love it.